Are your tracks lifeless? Do they feel static, like they're not going anywhere? They just feel really stiff and maybe really repetitive? Well, guess what? I have a solution for you. My name is El Marquis, musician, rapper, director, producer, unashamed craftsman, and today I'm going to teach you how to add dynamics to your songs in Logic Pro 10.
El Marquis Productions.
In order for music to sound lively, in order for it to not sound repetitive, it needs to have dynamics, it needs to have contrast, it needs to have moments where maybe it's quiet and maybe when it's loud. Or if you work in hip hop or electronic music or anything that uses virtual instruments, maybe you'll want to have your synths or your samples or your drums to have certain textures in certain parts of the song and then have a different texture or volume or effect in another section of the song. Adding different dynamics to your music just makes it feel more interesting and it keeps the listener interested. So how can you add dynamics to your music? When you're in the mixing phase, automation is key. You can really take your mixes to the next level whenever you're using automation to, let's say, control the dynamics of a lead vocal to make sure that it's not getting too loud or too quiet, adding in little effects or drops here and there on your instrument tracks. There are tons of things that you can do. And I want to give you a quick overview of some automation tricks that you can do in Logic Pro 10. And of course, these tips can apply to other DAWs, just these specific controls work for Logic Pro 10. Are you interested? Cool. But first, before I get into the tutorial, I need you to do me a really quick favor. Go down, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so that way you can see more videos like this, and then you can help other people with similar interests as you see more videos like this. All right, you got that out of the way? Bet. So now I'm going to go switch over to the computer and show you how to use automation in Logic Pro 10. All right, we haven't even gotten into the tutorial yet, and you've already heard me say the word automation like 100 times, so what is it? So when you use automation through a plugin, it automatically adjusts the parameters of the plugin. So basically you can take the parameters of anything in your plugins, like let's say for this EQ, for example, any of these bands, even the bypass switch, you can take those parameters and have them change throughout the song. So you could have, for example, that EQ turn on or off in certain sections of the song. You can change these bands throughout the song. So instead of it just staying static like this, maybe you can have the high pass filter sweep up in certain sections of the song or come back down. Or if you want to do something even easier, which is probably what I should have started off with, you can take the volume of a track and have it change throughout a song. So let's say, for example, I'll play you this section of the song just so you can hear it. Let's say you want this loop to rise in volume throughout part of this verse. So all you have to do is hit A on your keyboard or come up here and hit the automation button. A quick tip, hitting A on the keyboard is a little quicker. And then it's as easy as clicking on the volume knob and bam, the volume just popped up in the automation window. You also can do that with any other parameter in any of your other plugins, which I'll show you later. And then you can click, and then this little automation dot, forgot the actual technical term, but this pops up and that's the volume that you already had set for this track. And then an easier way that I like to add automation if I'm wanting it to be exactly on the grid is that I'll hold on to this, I'll hit Command C to copy it, put the marker wherever I want the automation to start, hit Command V so that it starts right there. Let's say I want this automation to happen from measure 9 through measure 17. So then I move the marker to measure 17, then hit Command V to paste again. And then if I want that loop to increase in volume throughout these measures, I click on the automation dot and I just drag it up to however loud I want it to be. And then if you look at this little slope right there, I'll zoom in so you can see it even easier. It'll gradually increase in volume from measure 9 through measure 17. So here's what that sounds like. Pay attention to this volume knob right here. So if you're listening, you'd hear it gradually increase in volume throughout this little section, or I can even do the exact opposite. I can drag it down and it can decrease in volume. So as you heard, it gradually decreased in volume, did the exact opposite. So that would be useful if you had an instrument, whether it's one of these tracks, or something I use it for is vocals that are very dynamic, to either make certain things louder in certain sections, quiet things down, or maybe if you want to control the dynamics of, let's say, a vocal or a saxophone or a guitar, you can keep that volume in check by just drawing in these little automation edits over here, maybe quieting something down, turning something back up. And actually, I'll give you another tip specifically for volume automation. I actually don't like using automation on the volume knob itself, because if I want to go back later and adjust the volume of this track, it's just gonna snap back to where it was before. So I'll turn it down to -28, and then look, it snapped back up to where the automation told it to go. So to get the same result but still be able to adjust the volume of the track later, on the very last insert of the track, I insert a gain plugin. So you click on audio effects, go to utility, and go to gain. Hit A again, and then the long way to do it actually is you click over here, find your plugin, and then you click gain, or the shortcut would be just to move the gain knob right here. And then let's say I want the volume to decrease from measure 9 to measure 17. Click somewhere in the automation window. I'll click over here to insert the dot, and just to get it right on the grid, I'll hit Command C and Command V on measure 9, get rid of that. And then I want it to gradually decrease until measure 17, so I'll hit Command V to paste that little automation dot again and drag it down. Pay attention to what this gain knob is doing. So as you can hear and see, the volume gradually decreased from measure 9 to measure 17. You also can see the knob on the gain plugin itself automatically move down. The reason why I do volume automation on the gain plugin rather than the volume knob itself is that I can automate the volume of this track but still maintain where I want the overall level of it to be, if that makes sense. Alright, so that was a really easy and basic automation trick. But let's say on a specific instrument you want an effect to come in for a certain time period and then go out. This loop plays pretty much the entire song. It can get really repetitive. Some people may find it boring, so I was thinking of a way to change up the loop a little bit, make it sound more interesting. So at the start of the second verse, pay attention to these plugins right here. The guitar rig and the M Rhythmizer are off throughout the majority of the song, and then at the start of verse 2, measure 33, they turn on. So actually, I'll play this transition so you can hear what's going on. The guitar rig has this tremolo and this rotator effect, and then M Rhythmizer repeats the sample, so it sounds like I chopped it up in a different way. So now, how did I actually get this to work? Well, after I got the plugins to sound how I wanted them to sound and determined where I want those effects to come in and come out, I hit A. I went over to the bypass knob on the plugin itself, clicked it, and now you can see where I placed the automation. Then all I did was double click somewhere in the automation region, click the dot again, hit Command C, double click that to get rid of it, go to measure 33, hit Command V again, and then I dragged it down. I'll just get rid of that because I already did that. So that now right there, that effect turns on. So this effect actually kept playing throughout the rest of the song. So verse 2 and chorus 2 sound different than verse 1 and chorus 1. And then I did the exact same thing with the M Rhythmizer. So I hit the bypass button on the M Rhythmizer and double clicked somewhere random, hit Command C, get rid of that dot right there, go to measure 33, hit Command V, drag it down. And then at measure 40, I wanted it to turn off. So then I hit Command V again, and then it was bypassed. So I'll show you one more time what that transition sounds like. It's off, and now it's on. So that made this track a lot cooler, because now that loop, instead of it just playing the exact same thing and having the exact same texture on it the entire time, it has a different texture for part of the song. It plays slightly differently for a section of the song, and adding that other dynamic takes this somewhat repetitive track and makes it feel a little less repetitive. You can even add automation to your buses. So this bus right here is a reverb. So let's say I want this reverb to specifically not play on chorus 1. So all you need to do is hit A, go to the bypass button on that bus, click it, and now I just bypass it throughout the entire song. But I do want it to play throughout the entire song. So click it and I'll click it again so it stays on where I want it to. Double click somewhere, double click again, get this dot, hit Command C, go to measure 25, hit Command V, get rid of this dot right here, and now drag it up so that mutes that bus right there. And then I wanted to come back at measure 33, so then I hit Command V, and now it's back on. So here's what that would sound like. That was kind of subtle, well, not the best example because I didn't have the reverb super loud, but let me undo all that stuff. So you can activate and deactivate your bus sends wherever you want to. But let's say you want more of this effect in a certain part of the song. Let's say I want the reverb to be at a certain level in verse 1, and then in chorus 1, I just want that reverb super loud and washy and apparent and space-like and all that stuff. So click A again, go down to this knob, click it. So let's say from measure 25 to measure 29, I want the volume of the reverb to increase, and then from measure 29 to 33, I want it to decrease. Click somewhere, get the dot, Command C, Command V, get rid of that dot over here. So I wanted to get louder to measure 29, click measure 29, click Command V, drag it super far up just so you can really hear it. And then after measure 29 hits, I want it to come back down to where it was before. Go to measure 33, hit Command V, and now it goes back down. So here's what that sounds like. And pay attention to this knob right here. Cool, so as you can see and hear, that made the volume of the reverb crescendo from measure 25 to 29 and the decrescendo from measure 29 to 33. So far I've showed you automation on single tracks, but guess what? You can also use automation to affect multiple tracks at once. So you can do this a couple ways. You can route certain instruments to one bus, like the drums for example, or all your guitars, or all your synths, or you can even put it on the stereo out channel and affect everything in the song, which I did in a certain section of this song actually. So in order to add another change, at measure 45, I had this remix effect plugin. So in order to add another dynamic change and keep the track moving, keep it sounding interesting, at measure 45, I actually introduced this remix effects plugin. It's off, it's on. So how did I do this? Well, first I created the stereo out track, which you can do by hitting X, go stereo out, and then show output track, so it shows the track. And then I hit A, and then I activated this one in a different way because there are different automation modes that I don't want to get into super in-depth detail in this video. I just want to show you what I did and explain what's going on. So I clicked over here on automation mode, and I went to right, hit OK. And this is something I did for this specific plugin just because if you understand how the remix effects works, which if you don't and you want me to make a full video on it, let me know in the comment section below. I wanted this filter to pop in at this section and then pop out. So when it's on right mode, instead of manually drawing these little automation dots in, I actually just hit the plugin and then it recorded the automation for me. So now I'll pretty much show you what I did. So after I made sure the automation mode was on right and then I opened the plugin, I just played the track and then I clicked this filter where I wanted it to be as soon as it approached measure 45. So let me show you. So I went a little crazy just to show you what it could do. But now I go back and click that button again, go back to read, and now it's gonna play back all those random little effects that I played right there. And of course, if you want to tighten those up, if you want them to be perfectly on the grid, you always go down, go over here, and then click on the automation dot, hit Command C, hit Command V to get perfectly on grid wherever you want it to actually be. The main thing I wanted you to get out of that is just hearing how you can also use automation to affect multiple tracks at once, all tracks at once in this case. And adding that little change like that, even if it's brief, it still makes the track feel more lively, more interesting, less like a loop, and more like something that's alive, that has movement. So those are a lot of the basic controls of automation. You can do so many things with it. You can change volume, you can add these filter sweeps, you can add an effect in one section of a song and take it out. There's so many things that you can do with this. There's so many ways that you can experiment, and I highly encourage it. Whether you're trying to control the dynamics of a track, whether you want to add in a little effect here and there, like a little delay delay throws, little filter sweeps, maybe a flanger sweep. There's so many things you can do. I highly encourage you to experiment, try out different things. There's so much you can do with automation. It's amazing. Using it really does take your tracks to the next level. So now you just learned how to add dynamics using automation in Logic Pro 10. Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you've seen today, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you know whenever I upload new videos. Also be sure to visit my website, lmarquisproductions.com, where you'll be able to check out my music, my beats, my sample kits, my merchandise, and my mixing, mastering, and consulting services. Now go down in the comment section below and let me know what other Logic Pro 10 specific tutorials or mixing or production or songwriting specific tutorials that you would like to see me cover in the future. My name is L Marquis Productions. God bless.